believe. It's something that we do, we act. Like we talked about Jeremiah this morning. It was who he was. The word of the Lord was who he was. And so we believe God by faith. We know that he is coming. He has told us that there would come a time when there would be great persecution worldwide. The man of sin would be revealed, and we would have to make a choice whether or not we are going to comply with a mark that he will be putting out so that you could buy, sell, and eat, that kind of thing. And we know that we will reject that, obviously, because we worship only the Lord Jesus Christ. But before that time, we are being told now, it's already being pushed, even a vaccine mandate that's now, some people are saying you should not be able to fly unless you're vaccinated. You can't buy, sell, or eat. Some other countries are already pushing this. And so we do not adhere to that at all. So we don't want to be pushed into anything like that. But even beyond that, what's going on in our economy right now? What could possibly happen in the future with food supplies? Just that itself. We know that there is already indicators that indicate that there could be a great food shortage in the future. We know that many of the truckers are not being vaccinated. Because of that, they're losing their jobs or losing their contracts. Although the food is ready to be shipped from the ports, there's not many truckers doing it. So there's bottlenecking that could cause shortages in our stores. Pastor Mowers mentioned to me that China is right now trying to buy up all the energy they can. So is the European Union trying to get all the gas, all the oil they can for the winter that's coming, which translates into less oil for the whole world. If they're buying it all up, people trying to get it, therein lies the whole process. If it's like a domino effect, something happens here, it can happen all the way down, and then next thing you know, we realize we don't have the food or the product that we need. Right now we do. So right now, being like the ant in the summertime, storing up where we can, because something could be coming in the future where we are going to need food. And it may be that what you have stored up is all you have. Okay, so you got to think that. Be thinking that right now. What if you went to the store and there was nothing there? Okay, so what would you do? You come back to your house, you look at your shelves. All you have is what you bought last week. In that case, that's going to run out real quick. So in worst case scenario is what we're looking at. Worst case scenario, what do? You go to the store, there's no food. Go to the store, there's no water. There's no drink, there's no Cokes, there's no milk. What are you going to do? So what we're talking, this is all about, let's prepare while we can, okay, with the means that we have. And so I've asked Debbie to put together a little seminar here. She's asked Gina to come over and help us as well. And do you want to start with that video now? Can we do the video? What do you want to do first? I'm going to have Debbie come up, and then she's going to orchestrate this, and then pull Gina up whenever you want. So you take it from here, Debbie. Let's pray first. Thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to have this time together. Thank you for visitors being here. We pray that you bless our families, and may this be a help to those watching online. We pray for help as we have wisdom and discernment as we learn to prepare and be ready for that which is coming in the future. In Jesus' name, amen.
I'll go ahead and give a little introductory part first, because there's different ways to store food or to, get extra. And the video I found on YouTube, it's a 7-minute thing. This guy's been a prepper for years, and he's going to be talking about Mylar storage. And I think Gina is going to give more. I have a bunch of Mylar stuff at home, but I did mine, and then I put it in a plastic gallon, the buckets things, for extra protection. I don't want to break that seal. So anyway, she's going to cover that, and actually I think, do you have the paper? You're going to have links for that as well? Okay. Yeah, so we haven't talked about who's saying what or covering what, so it may overlap. But anyway, she knows a lot more about this than I do. In fact, yes, you do. I looked back at my stuff, and I did a huge amount of stuff in I think it was 15. So it's been 6 years ago, and I looked at all my stuff packed away yesterday, I think it was. And she taught me whatever I did then. And so I know it can be daunting. You're like, how do I do food for and I'm thinking not just 2 months, because we don't know. Right now, yeah, like right now, we kind of have an edge as Floridians because we're used to, you know, a few days or a week without power. So we know how to think. But for people just preparing for a little bit like that. So, and you're gonna, there's things that you can buy, like some of the canned things that we'll go over. But some things are better if you're talking really long term, that are gonna, rice and beans, things like that, that are gonna take a little more prep, you know, and like the Mylar bags. So I'm gonna just give a little bit of stuff before, and then we'll show that video, because he talks about, a guy actually demonstrates how to do it. And anyway, so the first thing is, once you kind of get information, you'll hear a lot of stuff. You kind of, for your own, just tailor it to your own families, and then, does everybody have one of these? Did y'all get the papers? Okay. So you want to figure out how much you want to store and for how long. How much food, how many people, and then, okay, am I going to plan for 2 months? Am I going to plan for a year? And you can keep doing this. As you use stuff, you're going to replace it. So I would say get a good amount at first, and then as you use stuff, you're going to keep adding to it. You don't just do it, for 2 months and then don't do it anymore. Just stop. So you're going to get a goal in mind and then get started. Buying in bulk from somewhere like Sam's or BJ's can save you money. That's what I would do, cooking for a large family. Or if you're prepping for a longer period of time. Joe told me just a while back, he said, whenever you go to the store for your regular groceries, always pick up something else that you're going to add to storage that you don't need right now. So I always try to do that. And I think it was last month, I tried to price. There used to be a co-op here in town, and we would order 50-pound bags of stuff all the time, and it was so cheap, but I can't find one. I mean, I know Everman's, you can do that, but it's not the same as the one I used to use. But anyway, I was in BJ's, and I think I got a 50-pound bag of rice for 20-something cents a pound. So it was like in the teens dollars for that much rice, and you're like, it'll take us forever. And it would take us forever to use 50 pounds. I'm only going to get one of those. I'm like, no, when you got to think, I have one bag of rice. Well, if something happens and we can't get to the store and you're eating rice for lunch and supper, that's going to run out quick. So whatever you think is maybe enough, I'd go more, do a little extra. So anyway, try to get stuff in bulk if you can. Okay, one thing to think about, if you're trying to store foods, the purpose, things that are going to taste good as much as possible. And the reason I say that is because I was telling him the other day, I said, I feel like you're going to be in the wilderness like the Israelites. They got tired of eating manna all the time. Because long term, I mean, we don't know, but if it did come to that and we're eating rice and beans and flavoring it with whatever, we'll have to have good attitudes as the adults and the parents. Your kids are going to pick up on your attitude. So be positive and, hey, look what the Lord provided. But you're going to have to work at maybe, making things taste good, throwing in stuff. You want to think of stuff that's going to fill your stomach, also give you the nutrients that you need, and it's going to sustain you and give you energy. If you're hunkered down out in the woods somewhere, or just even, it's not always for like the emergency if a government crashes or something. But say you're going camping or whatever, just a lot of this you can use now, not in a emergency situation, but if you're going to go hiking or camping or whatever, these are just good things to have. And then another thing, if meats get harder to find and more expensive, which they already have, I've been in the store multiple times recently. I went into Walmart about 4 weeks ago, and I think there were 2 packs of chicken in their humongous thing. And I turned around, and one of the ladies was there, and I had already been to Sam's, and there was not one pack at Sam's of chicken breasts. It said chicken breast, but then both of the floor, the big, huge floor freezers were full of chicken drumsticks. I mean, you can eat that, but I wanted chicken breast. They didn't have any. And so when I got to Walmart, I got over those 2 little measly little packs, and I turned around, and this one lady was working, and she saw me. I didn't say anything. She just saw me turn and look, and she goes, "That's all we have." I said, "What is the deal with chicken? Sam's doesn't have any chicken either." So anyway, and then about 2 weeks ago, I was over here at Grocery Advantage running in to get something, and I took a picture. It was so weird. It was like in the middle of a hurricane, and it wasn't. I took a picture of the produce section, and there was literally nothing on the whole produce. All the produce was gone, and then over the salads, fruit, everything. I thought, we don't want to think that we're not going to be able to get food. And that, yeah, they get shipments in, but what if they don't get shipments in? So it was really weird. But anyway, so meat, I was thinking if you can find, wait a minute, let's see, it gets harder to find. Instead of having meat as a main course, okay, so now we're pretty much meat, potatoes, people. You have, what kind of meat am I making? Oh, I'm going to bake chicken. Okay, well, what sides am I going to have with that? Oh, okay. But my own personal feeling is, as times get harder, you're not going to have this tons of meat for every meal and have a few little vegetables. No, you're going to have your sustaining things that fill your belly, rice, beans, and pasta. And these things, they're nice. And I was like, I know they're expensive. You can get them on sale at different prices. But I looked at several companies, and they're all mostly, the meals that they do are combinations of pasta and rice and whatever. And so I think, well, I mean, you can do your own if you want to. So you're going to have the things that are going to fill you up, and especially you think about, we got little kids, and you don't want to see your kids hungry. I mean, you're going to do what you can to fill those babies' bellies. And rice, so I would say build your things around those, the things that are carbs, give you energy, but also you got to have stuff that sustains you and, good nutrients and things. So I'm planning on just stretching my meat out, having something, and let's see, this is chicken that I canned about 6 years ago, and I think this probably has a shelf life of like 25 or 30 years. Super easy to do, and so this is only, I think this is a pound in here, and the kids, when I was doing it, the kids were like, Mom, is that going to be enough? I'm like, well, this isn't going to be our meal. This is going to be thrown into rice or thrown into maybe a pasta or a sauce, and we might be glad to even have that much, the taste of a little bit of meat in something. So something I try to do is watch for meat when it's on sale, and that's your best times. If you can afford it, get extra, and either like can it. Now also another option is, I should have put this up actually. I know some people will get like these, just the canned chicken breast, like tuna. That's another option. Just depends on the money you have or, whatever. Another thing about this is you don't have to worry about what else in this. You're doing your own. And you also have homemade chicken broth, too. It tastes really good. Okay. Another thing to think about when you're thinking of what do I want to buy, what do I want to stock up on, think of foods that require little or no cooking and also nutritionally dense. And, like I said, we kind of are conditioned that way because we think that way to get ready for hurricanes. So you think of, okay, I'm making my own MREs, putting together whatever you want. Okay, and then be creative. You don't want to eat the same thing day after day. So I started thinking about spices, like the big, down here, the big things you can get at Sam's or BJ's. Think, okay, well, what can I add to make this so, everybody's not complaining about this boring rice or this boring whatever. And you can get these for $4, $5, $6, all kinds. Yes, thank you to my assistant down here. He's so handsome, look at him. But that's going to be something you have to think about. You know what your family likes, what spices you want, and so you can do that. And let's see, I think Gina, you'll probably cover labeling and stuff like that. Okay, yeah, if you'll do that, because I didn't bring any with labels on them. And then also, when you get your stored food, you're going to want to, obviously, you'd want to organize it by, grains or similar stuff, and by date. So as you do stuff, you're going to rotate your food. So you've got like, okay, here's this and this and this, and put dates on it. As you use some, you want to replace it. Like use what's the oldest date and then replace that, so you'll always have some. Let's see. Okay, now down at the bottom of number 8, here's just some food, some ideas to buy for storage. Peanut butter, I know Diane loves peanut butter. But peanut butter is protein, so you can't have, if you can't get meat or protein, nut butters, just any nut butters are gonna be good. Nuts is good for you. Can you get both of them? That one and the other one down there, the red one. This, I have not tried it. Has anybody tried the powdered peanut butter? You have? Does it taste pretty okay? Okay, well, I was reading on that, and that PB Fit, all you do is you take 2 tablespoons of that and add water to it, and it's dehydrated peanut butter. So, and there's nothing in it except, I think it's peanuts, they do add a little sugar and salt. So that save you a ton of, you don't have to try to preserve peanut butter, because you've got your powdered, and that right there, I got that at Sam's. It makes the same amount after you mix it up with water. It's equal to about 2 of this 40 ounce size. So about 2 of these is 1 of those. So I just got some. I'm gonna probably get more of that too. It's lighter weight. I mean, anyway. These are, I'll talk about that in a minute, canning. So peanut butter, full grain or multi-grain crackers, that's good for fiber and everything. Of course, if you're on a gluten-free diet, you'll have to just think of other things. They do have stuff like that. Nuts and trail mixes, good for hiking and sports. Some of these things are just good to have in your bug-out bag, or if you're going camping, whatever. Granola bars, dried fruit, or canned fruit. I think I covered that. Okay, canned meat, that was my option. You can either we'll talk some more about that in a minute, or this type, salmon, you can get salmon, tuna, chicken, whatever. So, and then the amount you buy depends on how much you think you're going to add it to, meals and stuff. Of course, coffee and chocolate. And I'm like, well, do we have to put instant coffee in the storage? I mean, we can find some kind of power, can't we? So, chocolate, everybody needs chocolate of some sort. Okay, apple cider vinegar. Now there's a whole list that you need to look up on just for storage for medicine. Your medical supplies, bandaging, all that kind of stuff. I'm not covering that, but apple cider vinegar, and the good one to get is the one called with the mother in it. It has the floaty stuff. And I have got a book, if anybody's ever interested in reading it, it's called the 300 uses for apple cider vinegar. I mean, it is good for everything. So that's good for medicinal value, all the stuff it can help, and then also for health benefits too. So that'd be good to have, and you can get that you can even get the one with the mother, like at Walmart, I believe. Yeah. Okay, and then something else, canned things, anything canned. Sometimes you can get really good deals on canned vegetables, green beans, whatever vegetables you want. Also, canned meals, like maybe for like a single person, that's a meal for you. For me, that wouldn't be practical because I'd have to open too many of them for a meal. So, but that is something you might want to have. I still probably will because, this is stew. Yeah. So stews or chilies or things like that you can just buy. Sugar, salt for seasoning. I read something yesterday and it was talking about different salts that would be good to have. Like, let's say you want iodized salt if you're somebody that has thyroid problems, which we do. And you do need salt and iodine, so have some of that. It listed Epsom salt, which is not a food, but have some of that for, say, sore bones or whatever, injuries, soaking. But pink Himalayan probably is the best kind of salt, for you, for eating. But of course, any salt would be good. Pepper, just thinking of things that you might not think about. Hey, I need to have that. You might get cooking and, hey, I wish I had that. Powdered milk is good also because I got some of that originally when I was doing this and processed that and stored it because you might have, if you're baking or whatever, you can't keep refrigerated milk. And then somebody had given me some of this. It's in the aseptic containers for milk. You can get that too. I don't know what the shelf life on this is, but somebody gave me some recently, and I said, I'm keeping that. That's one in storage, at least until January 22. So, but you can, hey, if it's still available, just get some, and then you'll have it for the next year out. or powdered milk, either one. Honey is really good because, of course, it has lots of, if you can get raw local honey, that's even better. All the the good things it has for you. You can use it for sweeteners. You can also use it in tons of, like, good for your throat, for medicinal value, and it's better for you, better for diabetics than, say, sugar. You can use it in baking or whatever, so that's something good to have. And then cooking oils, you can choose whatever kind you want. I did read, coconut oil is probably the most healthy. I know a lot of people use olive oil because you can use it at a higher heat, but I'd read that yesterday it can go rancid quicker than, say, coconut oil, olive oil. So I think they said coconut oil, I mean, coconut oil is more healthy, but it won't go rancid as quickly, and one source said it can last up to 2 years and gives, fast energy. And you can substitute that for butter or whatever in baking as well, or frying with it. And then flour, I'm not sure, you might know a little more, but I read, it's not good. What she's going to talk about, the Mylar, and then also this video, he talks about Mylar storage. Mylar, the Mylar balloons you see for birthdays. These are what we're talking about. You can get them in different shapes, sizes, different thicknesses, different mills, everything. They don't recommend so much storing stuff like that that's high moisture, because it can get bugs in it and it can go bad. So I'm not sure if you can talk about if you do know of flour, but still, if you're planning for now, get some extra, just for if, the immediate, like if stuff's hard to get to and truckers, we have a short supply, I always have just a little bit extra for that. But as far as,
You may want to say you can always get the wheat berries, if you have the ability, maybe
yeah.
stores a lot longer.
Yeah, that's what I have buckets probably of wheat grains, the berries, because I used to have my own grinder, and you can buy a hand cranked thing, which, grinds your wheat berries. I have an electric one, but you can buy them if you, worst came to worst, and you wanted to make your own. I used to grind my own berries and make my own wheat bread and everything. I haven't done that in a long time, so, because it's just easier to go to the store and buy it. But if you are going to do that, it would be easier to buy you can get it in 50-pound buckets for, it's pretty cheap. And you just throw an oxygen absorber. Are you gonna talk about oxygen absorbers? Okay. So I'll let her cover that. And then spices, I already talked about that. Okay, canning. Who's canned before? Okay. I grew up, my mom and dad canned, my one grandma canned, so I've done it on and off over the years. My mom recently, about a couple years ago, she gave me their canner. Thing looks brand new, and it's probably 50 years old, and they used it a lot. And of course it cooks better because it was my mom's. So, but anyway, so as cheap as some canned goods are, you may just want to buy that. Yep, some things it's cheaper to buy, or if you have the extra money and you want to do it, go ahead. Another option is pressure canning, especially like if you get meat on sale, cheaper than you can buy canned. That would be a no-brainer then. Hey, I'm just going to buy the cheaper meat, even if for now you just want to freeze it. You're still stocking up. Or free fruit in the summer. A lot of times people will have fruit trees, pear. A lot of people I know have pears or apples, whatever. And there's also a lady that she organizes a fruit sale down here, and they do it in the spring and the fall. But you can get peaches or different things. I think these might be peaches that I got from a fruit sale. So if you can get stuff like that at a really good price, I'd say go ahead and get it and process it. There's different ways. You can do like a water bath method where you don't necessarily, and if you want more information about these different ways, I can tell you because I've done different ones. But anyway, those are some options. Okay, so pressure canning does take more time, takes more effort, but you don't need refrigeration, just like you would in something here. And then you get to choose what goes into your food. You don't have to worry about preservatives or anything like that. And so you can consider, I would say probably things that are more maybe long-term that you're going to not get into for a while. You're not going to have to pop open and eat next month. Things like this, I said I've had for 6 years, and it tastes great. I think that one on the lighter colored one is pears. I think I might have gotten, you gave me some pears? Anyway, somebody gave me some pears, and so I had a ton of them. I did that. I think this is either peaches probably, I don't know. But they just last forever. And they're just nice to have. Even this, I used to have, when I originally did it, I did like 20 at a time. And I counted last night and I'm down to 10. I've got to redo it because she'll be in a hurry. Oh man, I didn't leave any meat set out. So I'll go and I'm like, don't do that. But I do it anyway. Go get into my emergency storage, pop the can, and yay, I can make something with it. So it's nice to have. So anyway, I was going to say, if anyone is interested in doing canning, whatever, I have the book on whatever you want to can. And the only thing, like I said, I've done is fruit and meat. I've not done anything like meals. And I know Joe's mother has given him and Lisa, she does meals, like soups. What else has she? Stews? Yeah. So there's stuff like that, which I really want to do. I haven't done it yet, and I just need to make myself do it. But because there, let's say you are camped out, bugged out somewhere, you want an easier meal. You know, you have one thing in a jar, open the jar, get your fire going or whatever, however you're going to heat it up, and then you have that. So anyway, if anybody's interested in the canning thing, I could show you how. We could come here and have a day, and we'll do it, or we could come up to the house, and I can show you how to do it. And then even if we have several who are interested and want to use my canner, we can just, hey, you got it this week, you got it that week, and handle it that way. So.
Jeannie, you want to come up or show the video? Show the video first. Okay, let me answer that question. Well, one of the things that we're doing as well, our leadership has got together, talked about using the Connex box as a storage facility for our church people. So our hope is you take some stuff yourself, store it for your family. The Bible tells us very clearly in Acts chapter 2 and Acts chapter 5 that they also contributed to the deacons and said, take care of your widows and people that needed help. So the church is supposed to do that. We're not to isolate ourselves, do our own thing. As a church body, we have been put together by God's grace. So some of you can store your own stuff at your house, great, but you also as a church should contribute to say, hey, let's store in our Connex box. We want to take over half of the Connex box. There's a lot of room to store a lot of the stuff we're talking about here. Everybody contribute to that. So when people need it, we may have people from the community have nothing. And they can come say, hey, you guys got any food? Yeah. We'll tell you what, on Tuesday at such time, come by, we'll ration out food. Something to be using for the gospel. So we're already planning on that, so that can help as well. So if you don't have any room, but you have the ability to help put it together, then we can store it. And obviously, we're going to take care of our church people first, and then others of the household of faith will try to help them as well. And then the unsaved as well, trying to preach the gospel. So all this is coming up. We've got to think that way. And the deacons, leaders, we've already been talking about that. So, all right, let's show the video real quick. And I don't know what it is. That you found? Okay, good.
It's basically the whole thing is how to prep. You get your food, how to prep it, store it, and I save it in the bags.
They'll have Gina come up. She says just about how to prep.
I'm going to show you my method for sealing up food in Mylar bags for long-term storage. All right, everybody
store it someplace, make sure you store it somewhere where you're not gonna, where you know the rats are outside, squirrels will get in and chew that stuff up, and that'll happen. So you gotta kind of put it somewhere where you keep a check on it as well. Okay, like we did. Real quick, and then Gene.
Just a quick question. Where they were storing the rice with a bag, put rice in the bag, why couldn't you just leave the rice in the bag and put that in the Mylar bag and seal that?
Well, I know those bags that you get from the store, stuff like that, bugs can get in those. I've seen
Yeah,
it
but
happen.
they're already in the
Oh, you
Mylar.
mean leaving it in a plastic bag and then put it in the Mylar
Yeah.
bag? Any question, why do we want to take them
We
out
do
of the
that
bag?
because when you open that rice and you put it in the Mylar bag, and you put the oxygen absorber in, if you leave it in that plastic bag, that oxygen absorber is not gonna pull the oxygen out of that original bag. You wanna get that rice loose in that bag so that you can stick the absorber down into the rice.
But
And
when
it
you pull
absorbs
it
that
out of
oxygen.
the Mylar bag, which would kind of shrink down the other bag, it's
Well, I wouldn't take that chance because you wanna, if there is any little bugs that are inside these original bags, if there's little buggies in here, in these original plastic bags, if I stick this down in the Mylar bag, then those bugs can still grow where that oxygen isn't absorbed out of this bag. So you wanna make sure you kill those little bugs that are in there, the eggs,
I
the
was just
larvae.
thinking of a shorter way.
Well, for my situation, I wanted 30 years storage. When I started this, I didn't want to mess with this again. And so what I did is did exactly what they wanted me to do.
We had friends that kind of started doing this, like when I started. She did, I don't know, pounds and pounds of stuff. About a year later, she checked it, but I didn't check it out. So if you're gonna do it, you might as well.
And a couple notes on the video that he said, always when you do your Mylar bags, be sure to put the directions on the food. So I noticed he labeled it. For instance, this is powdered milk. I put the directions, how much to reconstitute the milk on the Mylar bag, because you may or may not have the original, this is the original bag. You may not have this, so make sure that you look at the directions for whatever you're storing and write it on the Mylar bag. Okay, so you have that. I also put the date. I don't put how many pounds it is. I noticed he wrote the pounds. I mean, I'm not concerned about that myself, but if you're concerned about it, type A person, you wanna put the pounds on there, go ahead. I just basically put the directions, what it is, and the year and month that I put it in the bag. Okay? So, Randy, did you have a question?
Extreme temperatures.
Yeah, and I'm gonna address that, and this is real important to keep track of, and I can go ahead and address that right now, actually. That is very, very important when you're storing food. You do not want to store it, which, Pastor, could be a problem. I don't know if you're planning on temperature control with the Connex, but you cannot store
we're putting
food.
air conditioning.
Okay, perfect. You can't store food in warm temperatures, which is a problem here. Another issue, which I have a lot of food storage, and what you do, Teresa, with the space, and if you guys will look, I've got on your paper, I think I have LDS on here, yeah, Church of Jesus Christ. Now, obviously, we don't go with their theology, but they have been into food storage for years. They encourage their people to store food. Why do we want to store food? Why do I want you, as my fellow church member, to store food? Because what's going to happen when you store food or you store food, but nobody else here stores food? Where are they going to go for food? You and you. Have you stored 10,000 pounds of food for everybody at church? So think about the fact that you are trying to help your fellow Christian. You're helping yourself, but you're also helping those around you you don't want to be the person that has to call and say, hey, I didn't prepare. Can you support me and my family because we didn't prep? You don't want to be that person. So please be responsible and do this. This needs to be done. And it's not a big deal. It really isn't. So let me start with explaining how to buy. Let's talk about this. Buy 3 times what you normally would and store 2. After 6 months of this, you have a 1-year supply. if you buy 3 times, so I go buy 3 jars of peanut butter. Now, I know money might be an issue. If it is, just buy an extra jar. Just buy 1 extra. Just do what you can. But buy extra, and I'll tell you guys, I don't always put it in Mylar bags. I've got bins at my house. Now, I do put it in bins because I don't want mice in it or, you know, bugs, that kind of thing. And there can be bugs, but I have had these beans like this in these bags like this for several years, just kind of as a test to see, you know, do I have to put them in Mylar bags? And I do have the Mylar too. You know, you hear everything going on the news, you get like, oh, I've got 6 kids, I gotta do something quick. And so I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna go buy beans. If there's bugs in them, we'll eat the bugs too, you know? Because I got kind of scared. So I bought these different beans and I just put them in bins, and that's a good start. I mean, honestly, these are $1.18. Go buy a bunch of them and throw them in a little bin, okay? Keep your eyeballs on them, though. Don't leave them unsupervised. But while you're learning all this, it doesn't hurt to have stuff ready, because we just don't know, guys. We just, like Debbie said, we don't know when things are going to happen. But the biggest thing with your food storage, you want to make sure temperature, okay? Anybody know what else besides temperature? Moisture and light. We want it dark, we want it cool, and we want it dry, okay? So, the other thing I meant to say with Teresa, with your food storage, the LDS, which is the Latter-day Saints, they have done this for years. I read an interesting article about, I don't have any space, what do I do? And this is what these people do, they really do this. These huge buckets, which drives my kids crazy, by the way, because they hate these buckets. But stack these up. I have 2 of these stacked, and I'll throw a blanket or like a tablecloth over them, put some flowers on top, and you don't even know that that's what's under there. It looks like a table. When you have these 2 stacked on each other and you throw a little vase on top and a little, you know, like a tablecloth, and there's 2 reasons for that. There's 2 reasons. Number 1, it gives me an extra space to store my food, just kind of around the house. Number 2, and I know this sounds crazy, but it's not a good idea to advertise that you have food storage, and it's exactly what we're doing right here on YouTube. We're advertising that we have food storage, which is not a good thing to do. Why? Why is that not a good thing to do? Where are people gonna go? The first thing that happens when everything, they're gonna find all these sites, all these people, find some names. It's best not to tell people you have 10,000 pounds of food storage. It's just better not to, okay? Because understand that there's gonna be people looking for food. Now, as a Christian, what's our responsibility? To provide, okay? We need to provide for those people. So I've come full circle. Years ago, I was like, oh, I gotta hide my food. I can't keep my food, and I can't tell people. The Lord's really dealt with my heart with that. And so what I've done in the last few years, instead of focusing on my family, I've got to have all this food, I started packaging in smaller containers in gallon. Mostly, my food storage is mostly in the big containers. I've started putting together smaller containers of food. Why? Why do you think I've started doing this? To give it out. And you know, the Lord's in control. And my dad is unsaved, and he said, somebody's just gonna come and shoot you for your food. I said, no, they won't have to shoot me, because I'll give it to them. Because the Lord's gonna take care of you. Do not stress over this. The Lord will take care of you. And you know, what's the worst that can happen? We go to heaven. And if we can pull a few people that are unsaved with us by this, let's do it, I say, okay? So, just a little side note, think of other people while you're doing this as well, okay? And be prepared for that. What I want to say to you guys is my favorite food storage is not what I have at home. My favorite food storage is freeze-dried. Is anybody familiar with freeze-dried? That's a level up from what you guys saw in the video. And I love it because it's super light. And that's what you buy when you're buying this. I think it's 55 servings in here. And I'm gonna pass these around. It's so light. The other benefit is there's less moisture. When you just dehydrate food, it's around 75% moisture, so it doesn't last. And I've got an example of some food that I dehydrated here. In 2015, these are oats. Real quick, while I've got these up, You can store flour in Mylar bags, you can, processed flour, but it doesn't last as long, it goes rancid faster. The best thing is wheat berries, like Debbie said, order wheat berries. What do you need? You have to have a grinder though, preferably a hand grinder. And I have a hand grinder in storage. I don't use it because I'm not that adventurous making bread, you know, but I have it in case I need it for my however many pounds of wheat berries I have. So I'm gonna pass these around and let you guys feel. These are figs that I dried in 2015, and these are dehydrated. And if you smell this, you can smell the figs. Is that a good sign that you can smell them through the plastic? That's not a good sign. These, and then these are the, you can pass those around. Okay, now on that one, you'll see Harvest Right, and I just wanted, if you guys can take notes, I don't know if you want to write some of this down, but Harvest Right sells a freeze dryer. It's a couple $1,000s. That's what I would do right now. If I had a couple $1,000s in my back pocket, I'd buy a freeze dryer. And the reason is you can take these Mylar bags. I could make lasagna right now. I could make some lasagna and freeze dry it in my freeze dryer. And it would shrink it down and dry it up, but all I'd have to do is add water and voila, my lasagna 20 years later. Okay, really, it's fascinating to me how well that works. They're very expensive though, you know, $2,000 to $4,000, probably $2,900 to $6,000. So they're very expensive, but if you've got a lot of money sitting around, I highly recommend it. And I don't right now, so I don't have it. Freeze dryer, Harvest Right. I think, do I have one of my handouts? Did I keep one? Yeah. I think I have it on here, don't I? Maybe I don't. Harvest Right is the name of it. Now, on this paper I gave you, look up at that long-term storage. These are just, guys, there is so much online. It's almost overwhelming to see everything online. But at the same time, you can do a lot of comparing, and they've got top 10 food storage, top 10, top 8, everything. So I was pretty overwhelmed, but I just took some of the most common ones that you can order this kind of stuff, the freeze-dried stuff. And so this is the Lazy Man, and I love to do this. I know several people that have just spent $1,000 and bought a year's supply of freeze-dried food. And it's fast and easy, and it's already in these containers. So if you have a little extra cash, that's what I recommend you do. And that's this list right here. And the 4 Patriots was most of the list, actually My Patriot. The My Patriot supply was by far the most popular one. So, but you gotta do that research yourself.
What's the cost, Gina, for like a cluster?
This was $20, and this is at Walmart. I bought this morning, actually, just so I could show you guys what it looks like. And you know, you talk about how much food do I need? How much do we need? It's gonna vary so much, okay? If you have a family of 10, you're gonna need a lot more food than somebody that's just a couple or one person. If it were just me, like right now, I'm on OMOD, which is 1 meal a day. I just eat 1 meal a day. So I wouldn't need as much food as someone, the same one person that eats 3 meals a day. So really, this is such a variable. So just think about how much you would need to survive. That's along that same lines. When I started all this, you'll see online, they'll be like, well, just make sure you have variety and lots of fun stuff to eat because you're gonna miss your blah, blah, blah. I was like, nope. We're gonna survive. I don't care how it tastes. I'm just gonna get the cheapest thing I can to survive and keep us alive. Because at that time I had all these 6 little kids. What do you think what was my go-to? For just survival, think of the entire world. What does most of the world survive on? Rice and beans. Yes, rice and beans. And so the majority of my food storage, honestly, is rice and beans. And it's the cheapest thing you can do. It really is. And rice and beans are already what? They're dry. You can put diatomaceous earth in it, which this is one thing that I use in my long-term storage, the diatomaceous earth, and I don't think he mentioned that in the video, but about 1.5 cups of that in a 5-gallon bucket full of beans, dump it in. It breaks up the shells, basically, it chops them up like little razor blades, but we can eat it. It won't hurt us. I would rinse my beans before I used them, but it comes in a big bag. I probably got this off of Amazon, and I forget how much it was, but I would have bought it years ago anyway. But it's food grade, and you just dump a cup and a half of that in with your rice and beans. It chops up the little eggs as they hatch. When the little eggs hatch, it chops the little bugs up. They can't live. I have done this, honestly, because I knew I was storing for 30 years. I used both the diatomaceous earth and the oxygen. Yes, definitely put the oxygen absorbers in too. It's diatomaceous earth. It's just like a white powder. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I got this off Amazon. Maybe you can get it at Walmart.
It's gotta be food grade.
Food grade. Yeah. So, let's see what else. Online, you'll find a couple real quick things. Let me say this. What do I need with this? What do I need to, what is it, Emily? Water. Do you have a source of water? Do you have a source of water? Or do you live in a neighborhood with 500 other houses and you don't have any water in storage? Okay, if you have this, you need water. Even if you don't have this, you need water. We can't last long without water. So as you're thinking of all this, don't forget water. Shelter we pretty much have in hand here, but water. So I wrote down, if you want, myberkey.com, myberkey, BERKEY.com for you. I don't think it's on your list because I thought of it after I printed my sheet out. But guys, you need to be in your mind thinking, where can I get water? I had a friend in Tennessee that got water. There was a freshwater spring. They didn't have water on their property, so they ran over and got water out of a freshwater spring nearby, buckets of it. We've got a pond. If you have a pond nearby, that's why the Berkey. These Berkeys are amazing. I would be a rep for them if I could. We had cattle on our property that were pooping in the stream. We lost our spring water one day, and I thought, here we go, we're gonna test that Berkey. And I filled that thing up with that poopy water. I did. I didn't have a choice because that water was coming down from the pastures down to the house. And that was the water that we had on that farm at that time. That's all we had. And so I filtered that water and we drank it and we're all still alive. So it obviously worked. But they use it in third world countries. They use these Berkeys in third world countries with just nasty, filthy water. Okay, so I can't stress enough that if you can, buy a Berkey. I mean, they're kind of expensive, but you know, some things are worth it. So I'm not gonna go over, let me talk about, I talked about space. Remember, keep it cool, dry, okay, dark. And obviously, with the light, it's not an issue if you've got it in a bucket or in a Mylar bag, but make sure you have the cool and dry. Don't stress out over this, guys, like I did. I stressed out like crazy when I started this because I was having a panic attack. Don't panic. Just do it slow. Just do it slow. Go to Walmart. Start with something you can do, okay? Start with something you could do. If I were you and you haven't started this at all, what I would recommend is go to Amazon.com, order Mylar bags, the small gallon ones, and they come with oxygen absorbers. They're like a multi-pack with oxygen absorbers. Order them, go to Walmart, get your rice, dump rice in, put your little absorber in the bag. You saw how he did it. It's very simple. Start there. You've got 25 Mylar bags in a pack with the oxygen absorbers. Get several of these and just do it, okay? Just do it. Just get it started. Don't be overwhelmed. Now you can get creative as you go. I bought this from that same section in Walmart where that's sold. This is peppered gravy mix, okay? Now, I don't have any of this in my storage, but I thought, you know, this is just something different. And I've got all this rice. Hey, we might be desperate enough to put some gravy over our rice because I had a friend that's from Mexico and she said they got so sick of rice and beans that the kids, they wouldn't even eat because they were so sick of it. They had it 3 meals a day for years because that's all there was to eat was rice and beans. So you might
get energetic and original and buy weird stuff to put over your rice. And this, this again is a powder. I would put it in I would dump it out of this, put it in a Mylar bag, put an oxygen absorber and see how it goes, okay? So this is just something I thought of this morning. This is also something that's a powder, and as I said, the wheat berries, the whole berries, they last longer, but I do have this kind of stuff in my storage. So you pretty much treat it the same. You put the oxygen absorber in it, okay? Make sure, and I put mine in a bucket so that I don't just have these bags sitting out. I put them inside the bucket to keep the vermin out of them. Teresa, did you have?
Yeah. You put that in the Mylar bag.
Mhm.
How long does that actually last?
Well, this won't last as long because it's a powder, but what I put in Mylar bags, honestly, guys, I don't open it back up. I don't, because I consider it long-term storage. I've got canned chicken, like Debbie was saying. I wouldn't go near that. I would not, because, and she's braver than I am, because I don't like to can it. I mean, I don't mind canning, it's a lot of work. So I try to stay away from my canning. When we moved, my parents bought a farm that had, across from them, that had meat in lard. They used to pack meat in lard, and that was the way they stored it. And I think at that time it was 50 or 60 years old, and it was completely fine. We could have eaten that meat. I know we didn't, don't get me wrong. We didn't eat it, that was kind of, that's just too scary. But what I'm saying is this food preservation, people have been doing it for years, and there's lots of different ways to do it. Okay, but we've got it really nice now with Amazon, because just get on Amazon and order, you know what I mean? Now, a couple things I wanted to mention. I know this can't run too long, but these are called, oh, you have a question?
Two. One, some of the bigger bags, I know you just said you didn't open any of them, but what happens when you do open them? Especially when you get to the bigger bags that maybe you would, Debbie had a family of 9 kids at one point. Well, let's say the kids are out wherever. Now the bags were set up maybe for 9, and there's 4 or 5.
Then you share.
Can
Then
you-
you share.
You can't reseal those or anything like that?
You can reseal them. You just have to do the whole process again. Sure, you can.
The second question I was gonna ask, spices, since they're not in the same kind of containers that like a rice bag would you still seal those in the Mylar bag?
What's my goal? Okay, think about this. What they'll tell you online, which is a good thing, in what Debbie said, this is for people who have it together and are organized, not like me. I'm the opposite of that. So if you have it together and you are well organized, you say, okay, I'm gonna use this spice, but I'm gonna put one back. I've got this spice back and this one I'm using. Okay, that one's gone. I'm gonna pull that out of storage and put a new one in its place. So you're constantly rotating your stock, okay? And that's a good thing to do. The issue with myself is I bought food, namely rice and beans, things that the kids won't eat unless they're what? Hungry, starving. Actually, my kids would have to be very starving in order to eat rice and beans. So that stuff, I know that that's my long-term storage, and we're not gonna touch that, okay? But things like, which my family is deathly allergic to peanut butter, but with peanut butter, that was a great example. With your peanut butter, if your family uses it, you buy 2, this one I'm using, the other one's in storage. When this one's gone, or I might have 2 in storage, whatever. You're pulling forward and putting back a new one each time so that you're rotating your stock. That's called rotating your stock. And you want to do that it's better to do that actually. But, yeah. Questions?
One thing I was gonna say is about, say you get a huge thing of whatever, rice, whatever, saying, you wanna, I would say, like we have, a whole bucket that's full of one thing, stick an oxygen or seal it. If you know you're not gonna use it, I wouldn't say, don't dump the whole thing. Then just, you need to divide it up smaller, because you're gonna have to waste if you, empty a
Right.
5-gallon bucket and.
Right. So store it like this. Store it like this. If you're not going to use, and the reason I did that partly, the reason I used the 5-gallon buckets originally, and even now I probably do, is you can stack them nicely, and I label the 5-gallon bucket what's in it. And honestly, when you open rice, I've got rice right now that we go through that's just sitting on the shelf in like glass jars, and we just go through it. I mean, it doesn't have absorbers in it, and it's fine. It's dry, so, yeah, we leave our rice sitting for months, and it's fine. So, you don't have to worry about rice as much. Oops. And I want to pass these around so you guys can see. Don't open them, but these are the actual oxygen absorber. Those are all sealed up, and that's what they look like when you get them. Now, questions?
You said you bought that couple of things there at Walmart.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like that. Where,
That's because you probably don't shop in the bulk section. This is in the bulk section, like the big jars of pickles and the big syrup. It's in there's a bulk section, like 5 rows down and like on the meat side. And so, yeah, this is $20. And for you, Rhonda, it would be perfect. Like, get a few of these and you're set to go, really. I mean, you wouldn't have to go through all of this extra stuff.
What about all these vacuum sealer?
Yes, that's called a food saver, and actually, I have one of these, and it's really, really nice, because it sucks it sucks the air out of it and then it seals it for you. And I think I actually used it with this one, but this also has an oxygen. Do what? This bag right here comes with, but these are not so good, because they do allow air entry into the bag. So this is more like for next month, my chicken that I'm gonna cook next month. This is more like 20 years from now, okay? So I'll let you pass that around.
You use the food saver
Yeah.
with the Mylar
Yeah,
bag?
yeah, there, I'll pass that around so they can see what it looks like. And guys, these are all investments. So I don't want you to be overwhelmed by it, because you don't have to buy this stuff. These are just things that really make your life easier in food storage. Now, real quick, I want to talk to you about, these are called heirloom seeds. Does anybody know the difference between heirloom and what's the other term? Help me. The one's hybrid, yes, the hybrid. Hybrid versus heirloom. Hybrid is, a lot of times you can't regrow the seed, okay? And so heirloom is what you want to look for. And there's a lot of prepper sites that have these seeds. Now, that said, if you buy these seeds and you have never touched dirt with your own hands, and you don't know what a garden even is, this is not going to help you when everything breaks down. What do I need to be doing right now if I'm thinking, I'm going to buy me some heirloom seeds? Practice. You want to get out there and get your fingernails dirty and grow a garden right now. Don't go, I've got these heirloom seeds, because you won't know what in the world you're doing when it comes time to plant these heirloom seeds, okay? So I've seen people get these online that have no idea about gardening. So educate yourself. Why do you think I'm bringing up a garden when I'm talking about long-term food storage? Why am I doing that? What should your ultimate goal be? Self-sustain. Think about if this lasts for 5 years or 10 years. I don't care if I have 2,000 pounds, 10,000 pounds. Eventually, what's going to happen? It's going to run out eventually. And then what do I do? So in my mind, I'm asking myself, what can I have to keep me alive if all my food runs out? Because it is important to have the food, but you need to have a backup plan, guys, besides what you have in storage. Now, chickens comes to mind, and I love, 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 love chickens, because chickens, guys, will keep you alive. And I'm not talking about eating the chickens. Try not to eat your chickens if you're trying to stay alive. I'm talking about their eggs, okay? So I always love to have chickens. Now, chickens come with their own burden, but boy, it's well worth it. If you can get you a few hens, and even if you can get a rooster, it's a great idea to have. It's great. So if you can.
Question on the heirloom seeds, as long as you keep them dry.
I actually have mine in Mylar bags, but a lot of people store them in the refrigerator. They put them in the refrigerator. They should last several years, yeah, hopefully. But I was gonna also talk about,
Gina, why don't you state why an heirloom seed is better than a hybrid?
well, a hybrid seed, I'll just give you a personal example. I had the best cantaloupe from Publix I had ever eaten in my life. I was like, oh, this is the best cantaloupe. I'd go eat 5 of them at one time. They were so wonderful. I planted those seeds thinking, oh, I'm gonna have these cantaloupes on my property, and guess what? I had a nice plant. I had a very nice cantaloupe plant. It was beautiful. Do you think there were any cantaloupes on it? No, because it was hybrid. That's probably why it tasted so good. But that's why you don't want hybrid, because you can't regrow them. Okay, so always do heirloom. On that same note, Jessica, question? Teresa?
I have a quick question going back to the Mylar bag.
Sure.
My mother used to can years ago, and she would go and buy like 500 years of corn, sit there and, have us kids husk it, and she'd boil it, and then cut it all off the cob, and then freeze it. And you need Mylar bags with cooked food already, and freeze it?
You want to stick with dry food. Mylar bags with, the best thing to do is the freeze-dried food. You can do the dehydrated, it's got a little too high a moisture content. Think about the less moisture in these Mylar bags as possible. You want as little water as possible, because that's a shorter lifespan for the food if there's moisture in it.
All right, if somebody
So-
went out, just say hypothetically, if somebody went out and bought 500 years of corn to do that, what can they do for the storage?
I would freeze dry it if I had that option. If I was able to freeze dry it or dehydrate, you want to get as much of the water out of it. People freeze it. If you're going to go through it this year, then put it in the freezer. You can use your freezer. But if you're talking about, Teresa, it's all about, am I storing this for 30 years? Or am I storing that corn for this year and I'm going to cook it for supper every other night? You got to think about, what am I storing for? Am I storing for this coming year, or am I storing for 10 years from now? That's the question you have to ask yourself about that corn. So, that's going to determine what kind of storage you choose. So let's talk about foraging. And I'm not going to go into detail too much about foraging. But guys, the Lord's provided food in our yard, if you can believe that. You can go out in your yard. I guarantee you right now, you have this weed, Florida Betony. Who's heard of Florida Betony? Anybody? You guys haven't heard of Florida Betony? Maybe I'm the only one that has trouble with this weed. The good thing about this weed, though, guys, it's edible. And this is the funny part. You can go in my yard right now and dig up pounds of this Florida Betony, and you can eat the leaves, you can make tea out of it, you can eat the root. So another great thing to do, along the lines of, once my food storage is gone, learn how to forage. Learn what you can eat in this state where you are that'll keep you alive, okay? So I brought an example, actually went out, if I can find it, I went out and dug up some Florida Betony, which I don't see it now. Did you? Oh, it's underneath my book here. Okay, this is Florida Betony, and it's fresh. I just dug it up right before I got here. And this is what the root looks like. Yeah. Can you guys see that? This is the Florida Betony, and this is actually edible. This is an edible root.
Take a bite out of it?
Sure, it's kind of dirty, but it's just dirt. Yeah, what it tastes like radish, kind of spicy radish. So I'll pass that around and you guys can, it's actually really good. My kids had well, yeah, if you want to take a bite, it's got a little dirt on it. But I'll give you this, Pastor. And I printed out some, it's also called rattlesnake weed, okay? And you guys, I'm sure, have this in your yard. Purslane is another one. And I just printed these up. Oh, that's crunchy. I got soil on my teeth. Okay. But anyway, just so you know, guys, there are other things to think about besides just what you have in storage. Think about, how can I keep myself and my family alive? The other thing is, when the guy comes with the gun and steals all your food, okay, now my food storage is gone. First, trust the Lord and say, Lord, what do I do? And then have your backup plan in place. How am I gonna survive? And there are a lot of edible Florida plants. You just have to research and find them. And you guys, the internet is amazing. We can find everything on the internet. A word of caution with foraging though, a big word of caution. Never, never do what I just did unless you are absolutely sure of what you're eating. Okay, never get a plant that you're like, yeah, I think this is that Bethany that she was talking about. I think I'll eat the root here. You might land yourself in the hospital or worse. So don't ever forage without educating yourself thoroughly. And if you ever have a doubt, don't eat it, okay? But this is just, I brought this book so that you guys could see there's plenty of resources for this. And this is helpful in that you don't have to rely on your food storage, okay? So I'm thinking, let's see if there's anything else I wanted to cover. I've got a list on your handout of foods for long-term storage, and Debbie went over a lot of these, and they are all over the internet. You know, top 10 foods, top 20 foods. And you guys can, all these different prep sites, there's so many prepper sites. At the bottom, you'll see other resources. And, I mean, guys, I could fill 25 pages full of websites for prepping, because it's kind of even among unsaved people. I think it is. I think everybody, even unsaved people, I think they realize something big's coming. They really do. And we know, because we have scripture, we can just read it, it's coming, and we know it is. But I think people know it is too. I think they know. So the good thing about it is there's tons and tons and tons and tons of sites. In fact, I was going through these sites, I was like, whoa, there's so much. You could spend hours upon hours upon hours doing just research. And I recommend, don't get overwhelmed. Figure out what you want to do. For instance, you know, I don't want to mess with all this Mylar garbage. I'm going to go with this. So what are you going to research? Freeze-dried, pre-packaged foods. Put that in your search engine and go to reviews for freeze-dried, pre-packaged food. Cost comparisons. There are several websites that have cost comparisons of these ones I've put on the top of your page. The cheapest ones that I saw for the most part were Augustin Farms. That's who a lot of people I know have the Augustin Farms, and the My Patriot Supply. Those were the two cheaper ones, but they've got charts and they've got graphs, and they'd say these are the pros to this and the cons to that, and they have it all listed out. I was like, well, I could spend an hour going over that, but you guys can go online and do that yourself. You don't need me to waste your time here. And so if that's what interests you and you want to do that, and you can also combine these, but if that's what interests you, research that. You want to do the Mylar bags? Research that, go on Amazon, order your bags. Like I said, it's pretty simple. Think, I want to store long-term. If you're doing Mylar bags, you're thinking long-term, okay? I wouldn't waste my money and put food in Mylar bags and next week go and open my Mylar bag. If you're gonna go to all that trouble with the oxygen absorbers, the Mylar bags, leave it in storage, okay? And also, the other thing I didn't like that he did, which I've never considered cutting my Mylar bag. I was like, oh, did he cut his Mylar bag? What's he doing? Like, my Mylar bags are like my Mylar bags. I would never cut them with scissors. But anyway, I would put another bag of rice in that Mylar bag instead of cutting off the top. But if you want to cut them, you go right ahead. That's your Mylar bag. I wouldn't cut mine, but okay. All right, so those are, let's see, anything else I wanted to address here? You can be really, really creative with this. You can be as creative or boring as you want. I'm boring. I'm the boring person. I just think lots of rice and beans, lots of whole grain, wheat berries with a grinder. In other words, you wouldn't want to eat dinner at my house if it was the end time, because it'd be pretty boring. Because I don't even really, I have a few little spices, but I haven't dumped spices in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers. I haven't done that. That might be something I probably should do, but I haven't. Because to me, at some point, we're just gonna be thinking about surviving. You know, putting food in the belly is all we're gonna care about. We just need to eat. And so to me, for me personally, it was better to spend more money on this, you know, this. This is the majority of my storage, rice and beans, okay? Because it's, for me, I'm thinking we're just gonna wanna survive. If you have the money though, and could get a couple of these, this is lots of fun because my goodness, there's pancakes and mac and cheese and creamy potato soup and creamy chicken flavored rice, maple brown sugar oatmeal, buttermilk pancakes. I mean, you might get sick of those rice and beans and want, you know, a pancake or, you know, whatever. So you may want to supplement with this. This is actually the first one of these I've ever purchased. I've never bought these before because they're, I mean, I can buy for, back when I did this, it was $12 for 50 pounds of beans. And this is $20. I mean, this is 55 servings, but my family opened this up and it'd be gone in one meal. This would be gone one meal. So that's what my thought process was on this. But now that the kids are hopefully growing up and leaving eventually, I've got the opposite of empty nesters. Anyway, they're all staying, but at some point when they're gone, when they leave, you know, something will have to be done with that storage. But you know what, so what? So what if I have food storage and, oh, you didn't use your food storage, what a waste of money that was. I'd far rather, guys, have tons of rice and beans and be like, well, we're eating rice and beans, we're gonna, you know, but at what point do you break into it? And you know what my point is, you don't know. We just don't know. So why not? It's like insurance. It's like having home insurance or car insurance. I hope we don't need it. I hope we don't. But if we do, we've got it. And back to the beginning, guys, think of your neighbors. Think of your friends. Think of your family. And I spoke with my family for years about this, and they're finally on board. And for instance, my parents have this Augustin Farms, and they have enough for a year's supply of Augustin Farms. I'm so thankful, okay, because the people around you, if you educate them, and just like you guys are being educated, you don't want to be a burden to other people. I mean, at some point, they will help you, but wouldn't it be better not to be a burden? And in fact, you could have a ministry with your neighbors if you would be conscientious about putting back a few extra gallons, and that's kind of what I'm doing right now, is putting back extra to help other people. As a Christian, that's what we should do, even to our own hurt. Okay, so, and no, I would not shoot someone if they came to my door. That's always the question my dad asks. You're gonna shoot people that come to your door for food? Absolutely not. What would Christ do? Would he shoot somebody that came to my door and asked for food? I don't think he would. It's like the guy that stored grain in the storehouses and the Lord required us so. You need to be giving and caring, and how can you do that right now? Prepare for your neighbors, prepare so that you can use this as a ministry. I mean, this is potentially a huge ministry because these people are going to be terrified because they're not going to understand what's going on, but you do. You know what's going on, and you can give them a tract as you give them a bag of rice, okay? And real quick, before I quit, I want to tell you, I brought these multiple packs of different kinds of beans. Now, I would say to you, try before you buy. What do you think I'm saying here? Try before you store. What, Louis?
Test the food, see if you actually like it.
See if you like it. I discovered that I hate lentils. And I have a whole pail of these little birdies, and I can't stand them. So I'm going to be unhappy if I end up eating those lentils. But I would buy, these are $1.18. Like I said, buy a bunch of these little guys and try them. The rice, I found out through the years I love jasmine rice. I don't like plain long grain white rice. Guess what kind of rice I have stored? Plain long grain white rice, and it's like cardboard to me. I don't like it. If I could do it again, what would I store? Try to buy what you like. And so, taste test before you store. And this is actually cheddar cheese I canned years ago, okay? Cheddar cheese. You can can just about anything, guys, and it's all out there. All that information is out there. You just have to look it up and learn to do it. Question, Teresa?
Again, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
But your jasmine rice, I like the boiled bag ones.
Yeah, those aren't long-term, but yeah.
Can you put in your bag with the
No, they're too much moisture. You gotta think dry. It has to be dry.
It's dry before you cook.
Oh, if it's dry, it's completely dry. Oh, well, yeah, sure. I thought you meant the moist ones that you just put in the microwave.
You take it out of the box and you put it into the water. and
Sure.
boil it.
Okay, if it's completely dry, yes. Just ask yourself, is this a dry food? If it's dry,
Completely dry,
put it in the bag.
but it's a boiling in a bag, you know, so they have like little perforated.
The issue is, will it cook? Can you dump it from the Mylar bag into the pot? Because it won't be in a bag. You see, you're saying boil in a bag? Can you dump it?
Perforated, so that when you stick the bag
Okay.
into the water goes into the bag.
That might be, the only issue I would say is it would be more expensive, probably. A lot more expensive. Because picture how many you'd have to buy to put in a gallon Mylar bag. But if you love it and it's worth it to you, love the flavor of it in particular,
Well, if you buy a big box, then it's 6 pouches in a box.
and then you just empty them in the Mylar bag. Sure. You know, if they're dry, yeah. The ones I'm thinking of are the moist where you just put them in the microwave and, yeah. Okay. Yeah, if it's dry and you can do what you want, when you have a bunch of mouths to feed, it's an issue buying a bunch of stuff like that and putting it in a Mylar bag. But if it's just you, Teresa, then buy several boxes and do it. You know, why not? If it's dry. Are there any other questions or, if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. But this is actually, it's kind of fun. I mean, once you get started with it and have a goal, it's actually kind of fun. But just start small so that you're not overwhelmed. Because when you go online, you'll be overwhelmed because of all the information. And at the same time, be cautious about the videos you watch. There's tons on YouTube. Not everybody that puts something on YouTube and not everybody that says something on the internet, it's not always 100% accurate. So I'm sorry, Steve, I hate to disappoint you about that, but, all right. Thanks, guys.